Welcome to That's So Clutch, an automotive podcast that bridges the gap between car industry experts and those who are not. Hey everyone, welcome back to That's So Clutch. I'm Alini Ferreira, your host, and today I have Reva Hope, sales manager at Austin Subaru with us. How are you doing, Reva?
Fantastic.
Good.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here. So let me just get into a little bit of what you've done. So Reva is quite the saleswoman with 18 years of experience and counting. She's always been the Wonder Woman in every dealership she's worked at. Even though this is a male-dominated field, you've always been at the top of sales and was even a sales team leader at Mercedes-Benz of Austin from 2009 to 2022. Your sales manager position is fairly new, but you've always strived to make an impact in the world of cars, which is truly an inspiration.
Yes.
So I'm so excited to have you on.
No pressure.
How did you get started in the automotive industry?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I wasn't planning on doing this. I wanted to be a coach and a teacher, going to school to do that. But kind of trying to find my way, I took a semester off in 2005. I was like, let me figure out what's next for me. Someone basically was like, hey, you should sell cars. And I'm like, no. Like that's
Talk to people?
Yeah, like that's
try to sell them
terrifying.
something?
Yes, like I'm good. No, thank you.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think we have to challenge ourselves. So I was like, all right, let's go be uncomfortable and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I got into it the end of 2005 and really never looked back. It's something I absolutely love doing. I love being around people.
Wow, I love that. So what are the most important factors to consider when buying a car, at least right now?
Sure. There's a lot. I think you need to figure out, are you looking at new? Are you looking at used? A huge thing is probably your budget. Where,
Yeah.
you know, we don't want you coming in and saying your budget is 40 and we're on a $45,000 car. So we need to make sure that we're communicating ways to make sure we're helping you achieve your financial goals. So there are a lot of things that we have to look into. But yeah, just making sure we're working with your budget, making sure we're talking about it, making sure we are giving you every option that's available to you to be able to maximize what you're getting at the payment you need. There's so many things that we can do.
So what's the difference between leasing and financing? Because I feel like a lot of people get confused on what they want, and a lot of people get scared about the word lease.
Totally. Yeah. Leasing versus financing, we get every single day. That is a question we will hear constantly. You have the stigma of leasing, of what people believe. They think it's a bad thing. It's tainted. But the main thing is leasing is going to allow for you to have a car every few years, right? If we structure it right, you'll get a new car, you're going to stay under warranty. There's a lot of benefits with leasing. Financing, you're saying, hey, I'm going to commit to the term that I'm financing. So 6 years, 7 years, whatever it may be that you choose to finance a car, you're saying, I'm going to stay with that car for that term, pay those payments, pay that interest, and have it. So you're buying the car because you want to eventually have ownership, or you're leasing the car, which the best way to kind of put it on leasing is like renting the car and just paying for the portion of the car you're using.
How long is a lease term?
So it can be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Okay.
Typically, the sweet spot on a lease is about 3 years. 12,000 miles a year is really where you're going to see the benefit of leasing when you're comparing that number to a finance number, because your payments are meant to be less on a lease. And so I think everyone should at least have an opportunity to see a lease versus a purchase if you're looking to buy a car.
So why does leasing have a bad rep?
So yeah, it really, I know.
It sounds so far like it's a good idea, but a lot of people are scared of it.
Yeah, the biggest reasons people are scared of it is, one, they believe ownership. I don't own a car. But when you're financing a car, if you're not paying cash for a car, you don't own the car. So you're basically still renting a car when you're financing.
Wow.
Until the car is fully paid off, you don't own a car. So in leasing, people are like, oh, well, I don't own it. And I'm like, well, you don't own it. The bank owns your car when you're financing.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you always ask, like, hey, what are your long-term goals with the car? Well, I want to stay under warranty the whole time. Okay, well, you should lease it. Or I want to pay it off in 2 years. Okay, you should buy it. It just really kind of depends on what they want. But yes, mileage is another one for leasing. They're terrified, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go over my miles. Yes, that can happen, but usually it's like 20 cents per mile you go over, depending on the company, 20, 25 cents, right? So it's not a lot. But if you communicate with your salesperson and let them know, hey, this is about what I average driving, we need to structure a lease that will benefit the client. So we need to make sure we know, hey, I'm driving 12,000 miles a year, let's structure it at that. Or I'm driving 15,000 miles, let's structure it at that. Because a lot of dealerships will show these leases with really low payments and be like, oh, it's so good, but they put you at a 10,000 mile a year lease for 48 months. Why would we do that? So yes, it looks good on paper, but that didn't benefit our client whatsoever. You just sold a payment. You didn't actually structure it to benefit the client. So there's things with leasing, but it can be beneficial to so many of our clients.
Yeah.
But ownership, they're scared of because they don't own it. But again, you don't own it when you finance it.
Can you own the lease at the end of the term?
Yeah, great question. You can buy your car at the end. There is a set
That's convenient.
amount, right? So every lease has what's called a residual amount. It is what the bank is saying your car will be worth at the end of your lease based on how it's structured. So you can buy it for that amount plus tax, title, and license and own it at that point. So it's pretty cool. So you can drive it, enjoy it, standard warranty, have the lower payment. If you decide, man, I love this car, I want to have it, buy it. And there's even times now because of the current market where we've been trading clients out of cars, out of their leases early, and they can get into something else because dealerships need these cars right now.
So you don't have to actually stay within the lease for the whole term.
Yeah. Right now, probably the last couple years with COVID and everything, the way it happened, more people are able to get out of their leases earlier and get into something else. Or a lot of people started just staying home, so they didn't need 2 cars. So we're buying out leases. It's been really beneficial for everyone.
Wow. That's awesome. So when should you put money down?
Leasing versus financing, money down. Again, dealers can show you a lot of low payments, a lot of money down. Personally, I'm not a fan of money down on leasing. It's, again, you're not owning the car. That money does not go towards the principal. So you're not benefiting anything other than lowering your payment by putting money down. So that's it. All you did was prepay your payment. So if a payment's $500, you put money down and now it's at $400. All you did was take that money you put down, buy down your payment because you wanted that lower payment.
Yeah.
So I always say, if you want to put a couple grand down, great, that's fine. But you don't want to put leases like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 down because
you're not owning it.
You're not owning it. It goes to nothing except that payment. This doesn't change the residual at the end of the lease. And if you totaled your car, in a lease, all that money you just put into it is gone. Gone. If you totaled your car in 2 months and you put $7,000 down, you do not get money back out of a lease. So it's a really fine line. I understand people are like, I really have to be at this payment. Yeah. So if you have to be at that payment, let's find the car that fits that payment without you having to come out of pocket $5,000 or $6,000. Let's make sure we're putting you in the right financial, comfort zone, if you will, where it's going to make sense, where you're not hurting. Because cash is really important. You really want to keep your money right now. So let's make sure we are putting you in the right car that fits your payment without significant amount of money down. Now, we can share this all day long to our clients and they're still very adamant. No, I have to be at this payment. I'm putting this money down. No problems. We're not going to argue with someone if that's what they choose to do, but we need to make sure we're informing them so they understand this is what I'm getting myself into.
Do you have to put money down for financing?
You don't have to. It depends on what you want to finance. If your goal is to get that car paid off sooner, the more money you put down, the better. It's the same thing. But you're also putting yourself in a situation similar to leasing, except you'll get some money down. So some money back if you totaled your car. So you total your car, depreciation happens. The bank's only going to pay, or the insurance is only going to pay a certain amount of what they believe the car's worth. And then the banks, you have a payoff, right? So you potentially could lose half of what you just put down if you total your car because depreciation. So you have to just be careful with what you're choosing to do. I mean, if I've financed a car, if I wanted to have a lower payment and I wanted to pay it off, I would probably put some money down just because I'm trying to get it paid off sooner. Yeah. There are people who do not like debt, but they don't want to pay cash for a car. But they have some cash, so they're like, all right, I'm going to put this down, pay this car off soon. So money down, if you are trying to decide money down between a lease versus finance, always finance. Lease as minimal as possible. But money down is great. It just depends on what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What your
so
goals
how
are.
do you value trades?
Trades.
Because CarMax. How does that differ?
Yeah, so trades are huge. Trades are probably bigger now than ever before. And I don't think clients are ever really happy with trade values. That is probably the biggest hurdle for any dealership.
This is worth $10K. Nope, it's worth $5.
Yes, and you're like, hey, let's ask, how are your tires? How's your paint? And they're like, oh, 10, 10, 10, 10. It's amazing. And you go out to a car, you're like, oh, you need new tires. You have scrapes on your car. But the way people they see their car is perfect, amazing. They've had this car for a long time, some. So they really believe it's worth a certain amount. And you have all these guides online, right? All of them that are just here. They are just that. They're guides online, but they are just inflated all over the place. They will let clients click, has a sunroof, has this, right? But when we plug it in with the VIN number, it's going to pull all those things. Like, we're going to know what your car has, most likely. So we can see real value. So it's a struggle. They come in with a perceived amount in their mind, what they believe, and then we have to hit them with reality of this is what it is. So it's tough, but we all use a computer system. This is going to calculate, basically, we put your VIN in, your miles, condition, make all the notes about the actual condition of the car itself, and it will populate a trade value based on current market, other dealers, we can see what they're selling for, trading for, everything. So we're going to be really fair with trades. We're not trying to rob anyone of their car by any means. And then CarMax, your question there, it is a struggle. CarMax is a national company. They can send that car anywhere in the country that they want. So dealerships, anywhere you go, dealerships, we only have our market area. So we have to look at our current market. CarMax can look at every single market in the entire country and give values based on that. So are they usually higher? Yes. But when you trade at a dealership, you're going to get, if it's a finance car, like a car you're purchasing or financing, if you will, you are going to get something called tax credit. You're going to save, in the state of Texas, 6.25% of your trade value when you trade it into a dealership to buy another car. So
that's the tax credit?
Yeah, that's your tax savings. That equates to real money. So, if you're going to save $1,500 in taxes, you have to make sure that CarMax is giving you that total amount or more. Really, it has to be more for it to make sense. So usually when you calculate that in or factor that in, dealerships are going to be really aggressive, and it's going to be beneficial for you just to trade it into the dealer because of the taxes that you're going to save.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense. So is the end of the month really the best time to buy? Tell me the truth here.
I know.
Be real.
I know. It's the myth of car world.
Yeah.
I don't know if best time. Are we going to be a little more aggressive at the end of the month if we're short those one or two cars? For sure. We're gonna push that to say, hey, you buy at the end of the month, we're going to give you an extra whatever, $250, $500, whatever it is. But it's funny. I used to always say to my clients that I'm here all month, right? You do not have to wait till the last day to come see me. I'm going to take care of you just as good at the first as I would have at the 31st. So I think maybe way back when, the end of the month would have probably been significant. That probably was a real thing.
They're we got to get these out.
Yes. I think nowadays, though, no. We're going to do everything we can in our power, 31 days or whatever. There's Sundays in there, but we're going to do everything we can.
Some places.
To make it work for you when you're there to buy a car. We don't want to push you off and say, oh, well, if you want a better deal, let's hope this car is available and I'll see you at the end of the month.
Yeah.
It's not what we're doing. So yes and no. I think the big answer is really no. Come anytime. We're ready to assist our clients. Plus, if you wait to the very end of the month to save maybe a couple $100, $500 at the most, maybe, you're going to be at the dealership forever. Because everybody thinks that that's the time to buy a car.
Yeah.
Your time has to be worth more than a couple $100. Because who wants to sit at a dealership for 5-6 hours to save that? You come earlier or you come in the middle. Things are flowing a little differently. We're going to get you in. We're going to get you out. Because ultimately, that's the goal, is to make the car buying experience simple.
Yeah.
Answer all your questions. Be prepared for your appointment. Get you in, get you out, and make it fun.
Yeah.
And so it is not fun to sit at a dealership for 5 or 6 hours to save a few $100s. So
So what do you do for the client experience?
It's not about just selling a car. And me personally, I've never just been about selling a car. I don't want to say never. Probably the last 15 years, right? I think the first few years of my career, you're doing anything you can to figure it out. But once you really get a grasp on why you're doing this, which is for your client, you start to change things. And what it is about is to make it about them, to make it not about selling a car. If a car shouldn't be sold to a client, we're going to say, hey, this is probably not the right car. Based on everything you just said to me, what I hear is you need this, not what you're currently looking at. So it is our job to guide them, put them in a great financial position. Again, this goes back, put them in the budget that they're asking for. And so I think what's changed is
their lifestyle.
Yeah, culture has changed. Yeah. Again, we want, when you come to Austin Subaru, it's about that family atmosphere. We want you to feel good with coming in. We don't want to have this showy, loud dealership where it's like an amusement park. We want it to be.
You want this.
Yes, like it should not be that way. Like it's too much. That's overwhelming. It's already scary enough for people buying cars. It's a huge purchase, right? We have to remember like this is a big deal to them, and we need to make it a big deal. So it could be our 25th car for the day, but it needs to feel like the first car that we've ever sold to give them that experience. So they're excited. We're excited because we are excited that they're here. So it is just changing the overall customer experience of where it's not just about selling a car. If it makes sense, great. If not, we're going to find you something that works for you. But we are here to take care of our clients, to make it easy, to make it smooth, to make it fun, to make it where it feels like family. Yeah. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to us. It's a big deal to them. And like I said, we just want it to be an amazing experience. So we're trying to change things. I'm not trying to force anyone into anything that they don't need to be in or should be in. We are pressure free. You'll go to dealerships and they're going to pressure you and they're going to run after you on the lot and say, what if I can do this? You're like, no.
Calling you nonstop.
Yeah, it's like you leave. Okay, 5 minutes later, let's call them back. Yeah. Like, no, if we can do it, we're going to do it. And we're going to take care of you right there. You took the time in your day to come see us. We're going to take care of you. If we can make it happen, we will take care of you. So that's what it's about.
So my last question isn't really automotive related, but it is, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Say, you got this, right? Like, I think how I grew up and the struggles I had, I would have doubted myself a lot along the way. So I would have absolutely say, like, you got this, stay patient, keep grinding, keep working. That's something that I really value is my work ethic. And so, I would just say, you're going to be just fine. Yeah, you got this. You're going to be a bad bitch. Bam.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining. This was really fun. I hope you enjoyed this. This was informational, entertaining. Loved it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, if you have any questions about the automotive industry, please leave them down below. Maybe we'll feature them in the next video. Bye.